Regardless of the fact that Borussia Dortmund's Bundesliga campaign was another low-key one, the season overall was a successful one. The Germans qualified for the Champions League, made sure that Bayern Munich weren't able to wrap things up way too early, and had a few good performances to show for. Among those would be the rapid rise of Erling Haaland, a young striker bought from Austria who has established himself as one of the finest young players on the planet. The Norwegian hit the ground running the moment he arrived at the Signal Iduna Park, and it is clear that Haaland will be a major force in Germany when the new season begins. Indeed, BVB didn't have to pay over the odds for a player who attracted a lot of interest from a host of other teams before he decided to join Lucien Favre's side. It is no secret that Manchester United were eager to sign the teenage striker whose consistent displays in the Champions League for RB Salzburg had confirmed to the scouts that he would be a huge success at Old Trafford. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's connection with Haaland during their time at Molde was always going to be crucial if the Red Devils were to acquire the striker. However, after scouting the player on numerous occasions, the former striker chose not to pursue this transfer. Haaland would go on to seal a bargain move to BVB where he would do exactly what his talent always promised: score goals and dominate. Indeed, Manchester United and Ed Woodward were lambasted by the media for not going for such a top-class striker, who wouldn't have cost the club a lot of money either. A lot of criticism was born out of the club's inability to truly replace Romelu Lukaku, who had left the club in a summer transfer window for Inter Milan. And as the Red Devils struggled to put any sort of consistency in their performances, the debate kept raging on. Why would a club that's in such desperate need for a proven goalscorer not go for a player like Haaland who's still developing? The answer to all this stems from quite a few reasons that we will discuss one by one. The Mino Raiola factor. Mino Raiola is a super agent indeed, and perhaps one of the most controversial and outspoken ones out there. Raiola boasts quite a collection of superstars and isn't the easiest person to deal with. Indeed, Manchester United are still struggling to take care of the Paul Pogba situation, largely due to the fact that Raiola has always played a crucial role in where his clients end up, and Haaland is one of his clients. After all the controversy Raiola caused that pretty much started all the rumours about Pogba wanting to leave Old Trafford, it appears that the club did not want to involve in a similar situation again. While Haaland is a professional player and wants to excel in his career, the shadow of Raiola is too large to ignore. And with giving Raiola the power to manage two players' careers at Manchester United, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer might have been forced into the proverbial corner where there's no getting out of. United just didn't want to be part of another drama, it's as simple as that. Also, the fact that Raiola reportedly wanted a release clause added into his contract meant that United would have never had the upper hand in negotiations. Dortmund, on the other hand, knew what they had signed up for, and given their history, the Yellow Wall will be looking to make a profit out of a potential sale in the future anyway. In the long run though, this could prove to be a great decision, and United might even be applauded for it. At the end of the day, the club could do with a little less drama off the field. Moreover, Raiola allegedly wanted a cut in a future sale, and had the club agreed to those terms, it would have definitely set a bad precedent in the game and would give some of the notorious agents out there another way of holding clubs to ransom. Direct route to Champions League football. While Manchester United were navigating their way towards the final of the Europa League, Borussia Dortmund were already in the Champions League and had a knockout tie against Paris Saint-Germain to look forward to. Haaland must have been desperate to return to the Champions League after shining for Salzburg in the group stages. Dortmund guaranteed regular appearances in the competition for this season and for the next one. Little did we know that Manchester United would eventually get their house in order, and as things stand, the Red Devils have a very good chance of returning to the prestigious competition next season. A matter of priorities. If we have drawn any conclusion out of the resumption of football festivities in England, it's that Solskjaer has a pretty good sense of what he's doing, as opposed to what people have been saying. The Norwegian always knew how difficult it would be to set the house in order following years of mediocrity and poor choices. United are starting to find their feet again and kinda look like the team that used to play with the sort of swag we haven't seen since Sir Alex Ferguson's days at the helm. And all this was possible only because Solskjaer knew what immediate concerns to address first. The former striker had a good idea of where his team lacked. The likes of Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford are proven goal scorers, but even the best strikers in the world would struggle if they're starved of support from their midfield. In the absence of Pogba, the midfield had bite but lacked creativity. Scott McTominay puts his heart out on the field, Nemanja Matic knows how to organise the midfield, and Fred is great at providing energy. Juan Mata is one of the most creative players in England, but the Spaniard's age and speed slow things down. The Red Devils were in dire need of a dynamic midfielder, and they got just that when they signed Bruno Fernandes from Sporting Lisbon after some really lengthy negotiations. The Portuguese midfielder is one of the finest passers of the ball, and his approach is forward-thinking. The talented midfielder has the ability to provide key passes that most midfielders don't, and once he arrived, United strikers started performing well. Mason Greenwood has benefited a lot from the Portuguese man's arrival, and his most recent stats speak for themselves. United's 3 men up front have already surpassed a combined total of 50 goals this season, and now that Paul Pogba is also back in the starting 11, we're seeing how deadly this team can be. We might never be able to tell you how far Haaland would have gone had he arrived at Manchester United, but it is clear that the club's first and foremost priority was always to get Bruno Fernandes. Maybe somewhere down the road, the Portuguese star would be helping Haaland find the back of the net as well. Too many options in the squad. Okay, so this point might be a little controversial, given the fact that at the time when the club was chasing Haaland, Marcus Rashford was out injured and Bruno Fernandes hadn't arrived. Moreover, Lukaku wasn't around, and the club hadn't brought in Odion Higuaín for a loan spell either. But if you look at the Manchester United squad now, it would have been very unfair to have confined Mason Greenwood or even Anthony Martial to the bench. The two have been on fire ever since football returned, and perhaps Haaland's arrival would have a bad impact on the team as a whole. Mason Greenwood is enjoying quite a breakout season at Old Trafford, but had United signed Haaland, would we have seen how far the English striker could go? We don't think so. Greenwood might definitely have been confined to a bit part role, and that could have had a negative impact on his development. Solskjaer might not be the greatest manager out there, but the Norwegian understands the United way better than most. He knows how important it is to help the club's academy graduates see a fair path to first-team football. Mason Greenwood was given a chance, and though he was never expected to literally burst onto the scene, the youngster has taken his opportunity with both hands and is enjoying the sort of meteoric rise Marcus Rashford did when Louis van Gaal handed him his opportunity a few years ago. While Haaland is definitely a striker with a lot of potential, it would have been unfair to Mason Greenwood if he had to compete with another young striker who already had enough first-team opportunities to become who he is today. Haaland might have had his doubts as well. The Norwegian knew that signing for Manchester United would bring a different type of pressure, and at his age, it's better to play for a club where his every move might not be put under the microscope so resolutely like it's done in England. The move could have come too soon, and Borussia Dortmund is perhaps one of the best clubs in Europe for a young player to work on his craft before leaving for an even bigger club.